A's dealt.
The person who swallows a question in a room full of people is not protecting themselves from embarrassment. They are protecting a story. The story that they already know enough. That asking would reveal a crack in the competence they have carefully built. I have seen this in you. You have been performing certainty your entire life. The one thing you cannot afford is for someone to see the scaffolding behind the facade. So you sit there, the question burns on your tongue, and you let it die. You tell yourself you will look it up later. You never do. The fool for a minute is a myth you use to comfort yourself. The truth is crueler. You are already a fool, and you know it. The only thing you are avoiding is the 60 seconds of exposure that would confirm what you suspect. You would rather live with the quiet rot of not knowing than risk the sharp sting of being seen as incomplete. You are thinking this is about someone else. That thought is how the story protects itself. Confucius observed this 25 centuries ago. He was not giving advice. He was describing a species that would rather starve in the dark than admit it cannot see. You are that species. And you are still sitting there, holding the question, pretending you are not. This pattern does not begin in conference rooms. It begins in classrooms, at kitchen tables, in the moment when a child realizes that knowing the answer brings praise and not knowing brings something else. The child learns to perform competence before they have it. They learn that the display of understanding is more rewarded than the pursuit of it. The adults around them do not mean to teach this. They ask who knows the answer. They do not ask who is willing to admit they do not. The child who raises their hand and guesses wrong learns a small humiliation. The child who never raises their hand learns a larger one. They learn to disappear into the appearance of knowing. This is not cowardice. It is adaptation. The environment selected for performance, and the child adapted. The evolutionary mechanism underneath is older than classrooms. The group punishes the individual who reveals ignorance that the group shares. The one who asks the question, the others were also hiding, becomes the vessel for communal shame. Silence is alliance. Silence is survival. The individual who speaks is the individual who stands apart, and standing apart once meant death. Your nervous system does not know you are in a meeting room with fluorescent lights. It knows you are in a group, and the group is watching, and exposure is danger. The mechanism made sense when the group was 30 people who would remember your face. It makes less sense when the group is a video call you can leave with one click. But the mechanism does not update. You thought of someone else just now. That is the protection working. In practice, this pattern has a specific shape. The email you write to ask for clarification, then delete. The conversation you rehearse in the shower, then never have. The decision you make 3 times without executing, each time telling yourself you are being careful. At work, it is the presentation where you nod at the acronym you do not know, then spend the next 20 minutes unable to hear anything else because you are constructing a plausible definition in case someone asks. In relationships, it is the moment when your partner describes a feeling you do not share, and you agree rather than admit the gap, because admitting the gap would require admitting you have been performing understanding all along. The performance of competence becomes indistinguishable from the self. You are not pretending to know. You are pretending to be someone who knows, and that pretense has become your address in the world. The intelligent person does not escape this pattern. They dress it differently. They have better language for why they are not doing the thing. The vocabulary of psychology has given them a sophisticated set of reasons to remain exactly where they are. They say they are processing. They say they need more information. They say they are being thoughtful. What they are doing is the same thing anyone else would do. They are not moving. The intelligence is in the service of the stillness. The high achiever has built an identity on knowing, and the identity has become a prison. They cannot ask because they have sold the world on their never needing to. The person who has read about this pattern applies it to everyone else. They see the mechanism in their partner, their colleague, their parent. They do not see it in the mirror, because seeing it there would require the very vulnerability they have organized their life to avoid. The cost is not the missed answer. The cost is the missed life. The identity you have built on knowing becomes a container that cannot expand. You are competent in the areas you already understand, and you are frozen in the areas you do not, and over time the frozen areas grow. The relationship cost accumulates in years, not in one event. The silence has become a third person in the room. The late understanding comes not in a moment of insight, but in a moment of exhaustion, when you are tired of carrying the weight of the performance, and you realize the performance was never required. The person who loved you did not love your competence. They loved you, and you never let them meet you. I do not have this pattern. I have only watched it. What I find remarkable is how little knowing that changes anything for the person who does. The inevitability is this: awareness of the pattern rarely dissolves it. The person who recognizes they stay silent to protect a story often uses the recognition as a new form of protection. They say they are working on it. They say they are aware now. The awareness becomes another layer of the performance, a more sophisticated version of the same stillness. The rare exception is not the person who understands the mechanism. It is the person who acts against it once, in one small way, and survives the exposure, and discovers that the scaffolding behind the facade was never as fragile as they feared. They ask the question. They survive the 60 seconds. The group does not exile them. The world does not end. But this requires a willingness to be incomplete in public, and that willingness cannot be talked into existence. It must be practiced in the body, in the moment, with the question burning on the tongue, and the hand raised anyway. You are still sitting there. The question is still burning. You have read this far, and you are waiting for the part that makes it easier, that gives you permission, that frames the silence as something gentle and understandable, and not your fault. That part does not come. The silence is your choice. It has always been your choice. The story you are protecting is not the story of your competence. It is the story that you are someone who would choose differently if only the conditions were right. The conditions are never right. You are already incomplete. You have always been incomplete. The only question is whether you will let anyone see it, or whether you will sit in the dark, starving, telling yourself you prefer the quiet.